big story on Gravitas tonight. They've shaken hands against all odds. Official delegations from North and South Korea met in the demilitarized border town of Panmunjom for the first time in almost 2 years. And here's what they've agreed upon. North Korea will send a high-ranking delegation and athletes to the Olympics in South Korea's Pyeongchang in February. It will also send fan club supporters or cheerleading squads for individual competitions, an artists' troupe, members of the media, and even a taekwondo show team to these games. According to some media reports in South Korea, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's younger sister, may also be sent to attend the games. The meeting came after months of escalation and rising tensions on the Korean peninsula. Both sides issued press statements just before they began their conversation. The shrill tone that we've gotten used to was missing this time. Let's first take a look at what the leader of the North Korean delegation had to say.
그래서 우리 북남 당국이 진지한 입장, 성실한 자세로 이번 회담을 잘해서 이번 고위급 회담을 주시하면서 큰 기대를 걸고 있는 온 교회에게 새해 첫 선물, 또 값비싼 결과물을 드리는 게 어떠한가 하는 생각을 가지고 이 자리에 나왔습니다.
In a statement after the talks, both sides announced that they will now hold military talks to ease tensions on the border. It is important to note that while Pyongyang and Seoul may be the parties directly affected by this conflict, they aren't the only ones that make up this whole equation. Japan, China, and most importantly the US are significant stakeholders. How do they see today's talks? Let's start with Japan. It's the immediate neighbor of North Korea. Some of the missiles test fired by Pyongyang flew over the Japanese province of Hokkaido recently. Understandably, Tokyo is keeping a close eye on today's developments. And after the talks, Japan's chief cabinet secretary Yoshihide Suga said that they appreciate North Korea's show of willingness to take part in the Olympics. They see today's development as a positive step. But Tokyo remains wary of the missile threat from Pyongyang. The Japanese government still maintained that the missile program remains a grave and imminent threat to peace and security in the region. The next is China. It welcomed the talks between North and South Korea. The Chinese continue to call on the global community to engage with North Korea to diffuse the tension here. And here's what the Foreign Office in Beijing said after the talks.
朝鲜北南双方今天上午举行的高级别会谈确实 世界上很多国家都非常关注。那么，作为半岛的近邻，对半岛和本地区的和平、安全，与稳定，有着高度关注的中国，当然我们也十分关注。我们看到了有关报道，我们对朝韩高级别会谈能够举行感到高兴。
So is everyone welcoming the talks? No. The United States does not agree with China's approach. Washington has been unrelenting. It sees no point whatsoever in engaging with North Korea. Donald Trump's bombast precipitated the crisis last year. The United States moved the United Nations Security Council several times over the year to push for harsher sanctions. The question now is, why is America averse to the possibility of peace? Some say it's simply an ego battle for the man occupying the White House currently. The war of words between Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un has ruled headlines over the past few months. Kim continued missile tests despite threats and sanctions. Trump had egg on his face. He refuses to course correct though. And that, we are told, has left his team deeply divided. Here's what's going on inside the White House Situation Room. Tonight, we're telling you where the world's most powerful men stand on North Korea. We're sharing with you the inside track, as it were. Going by several accounts and what we understand from our sources, the US president is playing with fire with a bottle of kerosene in his hand. And here's why. A high-risk strategy of a small war with North Korea is being seriously considered by the top brass of the Trump administration. But two reports say that the White House stands divided over this plan. US President Donald Trump and his National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster are in favor of the war plan, which many call the bloody nose strategy. Defense Secretary James Mattis and Secretary of State Rex Tillerson strongly oppose this strategy. And here's the catch. We all know that Trump has not been getting along with Rex Tillerson. There is strong speculation that Tillerson could be replaced by Mike Pompeo, the CIA chief. If this switch goes through, the US president will have his way. The idea of war will be the idea supported by the majority The question then is, why is war the only option that the American president likes? Consider this. Last year, Donald Trump opened doors for South Korea and Japan to buy more sophisticated weapons and military equipment to boost the power of their defense forces against North Korea. This is an open secret. Defense companies are known to back the Republicans with funds for their campaigns. US President Donald Trump is known for his backing to the defense manufacturers in America. The next piece of fact should make this amply clear. Just the mere threat of war in October last year gave defense talks in the United States a 30% boost. So it all makes sense for a businessman turned politician turned president to keep this pot boiling. There's money to be made if there's a war in the Korean Peninsula. So as we look at what the future holds, it's worth looking back too. Why are the two Koreas at loggerheads? Where did this conflict originate? Why hasn't it been resolved? Our next report explains the 60-year conflict in less than 2 minutes.
In the wake of World War II, as the Cold War began, the Korean peninsula was divided along the 38th parallel. The North received Soviet backing, while the United States supported the South. In 1948, the two sides became officially known as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea in the North and the Republic of Korea in the South. The Korean War broke out on June 25, 1950, when the North's army invaded the South. Capturing Seoul within days, North Korean forces advanced to the tip of the peninsula. A UN coalition led by American troops stepped in to force the North Koreans back, pushing them as far as the Sino-Korean border. Chinese forces crossed into the north to help launch a counter-offensive. UN troops retaliated, and eventually in May 1951 the border between the two countries was fixed around the 38th parallel. In July 1953, North Korea signed a ceasefire agreement with the US, marking the end of the fighting. An estimated 2 to 4 million people died or disappeared during the conflict. No formal peace treaty has since been signed, leaving North and South Korea still technically at war.